today's video, I'm building a skyscraper inspired by every Animal Crossing Lego set. Not only is this going to be the tallest building that I've ever made out of Lego, but it's going to tower over the rest of my Lego city. There are a total of 5 floors, 9 rooms, 24 windows, and thousands of Lego pieces that went into this monstrosity. Each room or floor is influenced by one or more of the pre-existing Animal Crossing sets that have been released by Lego in recent years. With rumors that the next Nintendo Animal Crossing game might be a metropolis with high-rise buildings, I wanted to see what my favorite characters would look like going from island life to city life. I love the scale and style of so many of the buildings in Japanese big cities that I decided to build a high-rise that I saw from my recent trip to Tokyo. Before we get to the exterior design, let's take a look at the Animal Crossing sets that we are working with today. The first wave of sets that came out March of 2024 includes Nook's Cranny and Rosie's House, Julian's Birthday Party, Bunny's Outdoor Activities, Isabelle's House Visit, the in-store build of a micro version of Isabelle's house, Cap'n's Island Boat Tour, and Maple's Pumpkin Garden. I previously built an entire Animal Crossing island based off this first wave of sets, and even a couple custom builds. If you would like to check that out, you can find it linked down in the description below. Then, in August of 2024, LEGO released 2 more sets to add to the collection with Fly with Dodo Airlines and KK's Concert at the Plaza. This is where my airport mock became completely obsolete with the addition of LEGO's version. Then, most recently, in January of 2025, we were graced with 4 more sets in this thriving theme with Stargazing with Celeste, Leaf's Caravan and Garden Shop, Abel Sisters Clothing Shop, and finally Julian's Beach Painting. When it came to choosing what my exterior design would be like for this building, I wanted something a little bit more muted and unassuming, something that would seamlessly integrate with my pre-existing Lego city. Animal Crossing is bright and colorful, so I knew that the interiors would also be just as vibrant. I chose this white tiled building that we came upon our second day of walking around Tokyo when we were there this past January. This building stood out to me because of the stark contrast of the darker and denser bottom floor that grounded the larger and lighter structure above. I also like that the design style of the upper floors is taken down to the ground floor behind the darker front entrance. It's all one building, but it looks like 2 separate structures that are puzzled together. I used a lot of black windows to mimic the fenestration of the pre-existing building, one of the reasons I find it so appealing. To recreate the tiled finish of the white mass, I used snot bricks with 1x1 tiles to create the effect. I used copious jumper plates to offset the vertical planes and create more depth and dimension. I also used lots of stickers from our collection to add pops of color and character, even though the stickers don't always make the most sense in their application or location. In my opinion, the bottom floor accurately represents the character and aesthetic of the precedent building. I added the signage for the different businesses to the outside of the building and created an additional sign out front on the ground floor. When inserting this building into my current Lego city, it fits in seamlessly even though the height is so much greater. Now let's get into the inside where the Animal Crossing characters can bring the building to life. I know that I had 5 floors to work with since the building structure had been set. I started by assigning each set a different room or floor and designated which set coordinated with each area by the tile pattern on the floor. A couple of the sets overlap, but I was able to do something for almost all of them. Let's start with the first floor. I divided the space into 2 parts. The first set is actually inspired by one part of KK's Concert at the Plaza. This little cafe/food stand is quite lovely, even though it's not game accurate. I thought this would be the perfect spot for a cafe since it has a street entrance. I used the bright light yellow and lime 2x2 tiles for the floor in reference to the awning of the food stand. The same colors translated into the little stools for the seats, and Audie has a place to sit. The second side of the first floor is actually influenced by Rosie's house from the set Nook's Cranny and Rosie's House. I used the tan and white 2x2 tiles referenced from the roof and walls of Rosie's house and decided that since the set has a table with cookies and treats, that a bakery was the perfect use of the space. I thought it made sense since there was a cafe on the other side of the wall, I should add a window in between. The counter was built from magenta and white to emulate the table in the original set. Then I added cookies, pies, and cupcakes and donuts for sale, with a shelf full of chocolates, candy, and juice boxes on the wall. Finally, since this is a first floor space, I thought it made sense to add a mailroom wall and wall-mounted bike rack for the businesses and patrons of the entire building to use. The gray mailboxes even mimic the gray mailbox in Rosie's house. Now, let's move on to the second floor, where I took the dark orange and white from Fauna's house in Isabelle's house visit and applied it to the tiled floor. Since this set has a small vegetable patch in the front yard, I decided to make the space into a produce store. I started with some big barrels in the corner for larger produce like apples, bananas, and carrots. Then I set up these 3 barrels for 3 different colored flowers to sell. Then for smaller produce, I built a shelf with crates at an angle so that the fruits and vegetables could be on display for the shopper. Here I have the 3 different colored cherry pieces, peaches, strawberries, and corn. Finally, all that was left was a cash register and counter for Isabelle to help check out her clients. On the other side, I thought it was a perfect place for a downtown location of the travel agency associated with Dodo Airlines. I used the same blue shade on the tiled floor that matches the Fly with Dodo Airlines set. To inspire the clientele and show off the locations where Dodo Airlines goes to, I added maps and portraits to the back wall. Every office needs a corner plant, and after adding a couple desks and computers for the travel agents to work at, the only thing missing was a bookshelf with travel guidebooks. I even added 2 life rafts as decor similarly to the original set. Next up, we have the 3rd floor, where we are revisiting KK's concert at the plaza and building a recording studio and stage for KK. I've placed a soundproof corner with a microphone for KK to sing, and a small chair to take breaks or even have a friend watch. I also added a stand for all sorts of electronic guitars, a side table for the chair with a decorative plant, and a large display of additional string instruments for KK to use. I also added a shelf with different stereos. Next to the recording studio, I designed a space after Julian's birthday party. I thought that a party supply store would be the perfect counterpart and made displays for party hair bows and party hats. Then a wall display of different gift wrapping options and box sizes. A party isn't complete without decor, so I set up a balloon display and a shelf with different plates and cups for purchase. Now Julian can not only throw his own birthday party, but also help everyone get the supplies they need for any party. On the 4th floor, I first took a look at the Able Sisters clothing shop and decided to make a clothing shop location here in the downtown metropolis. After matching the green floor tiles to the green of the shop's current roof, I started by making a rotating clothing rack for pants with baskets on the top for sunglasses. A checkout counter and cash register is a must, and it seems like someone might have left their purse behind. For shirts and tops, I created these green shirt stands that are a direct recreation from the pre-existing set. These are simply wall-mounted versus floor-mounted. And with that, we finally have a location where residents can shop for clothes in the downtown. On the other side of the 4th floor, I took inspiration from Nook's Cranny and Rosie's house and realized that Tom Nook needed somewhere to store all of the bells he gets from charging his island's tenants. Therefore, this space is primarily comprised of a very large safe filled with bells and rare art and other high-value items. Every bank has planters for decor, so I added one here in the corner. The blue floor tiles correspond with the blue of the roof of Nook's Cranny, and with the addition of Tom Nook, this space is complete. Finally, on the 5th floor, I decided to incorporate the sets that I haven't addressed in one area. Each of these sets has significant outdoor elements. Therefore, I decided to take the idea from Leaf's Caravan and Garden Shop and make a large plant shop full of flowers and dwarf trees. I started by making a corner display for ferns, baby palms, and various seedlings that nest perfectly without blocking the windows. Maple is the first customer since she needs to buy more supplies for her pumpkin garden. Then I added the sales counter and cash register with Marshall working behind the counter. I added a watering can display in the back along with another corner display with more seedlings and florals. For the larger plants, I made wooden platforms for 3 different dwarf trees and vines and placed those in the center of the store. And with that, our plant store is complete. Now that the building is filled with stores and businesses for our figures, let's stack them all up and place the building into the city. I had a ton of fun transcribing each set's dominant color palette and creating a usage that was adjacent to the set it was inspired by. If you want to see more Animal Crossing videos, I've actually previously built an entire island. And if you want to see more city videos, I have a whole series where I shrunk Lego modulars into smaller versions, and even an entire video where I built sets and mocks inspired by my honeymoon in Japan. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you want to see more Lego buildings.